What's going on YouTube? In this video, I'm going to be talking about the FPS phenomenon, Rainbow Six Siege, and where the game stands today in 2025. For anyone unaware, Rainbow Six Siege was launched just over 10 years ago, a full decade. Ubisoft wanted to make a tactical 5v5 FPS that could compete with Counter-Strike Go. The game quickly took the world by storm, having fast-paced, simplistic core gameplay. The game focuses on the attackers versus the defenders. The game requires strategizing with your team, whether breaching or securing, and using map knowledge to control certain grounds. With zero respawns throughout each individual round, it sets high stakes for the players, punishing any mistakes. First, in order to understand how the game has evolved, we have to look all the way back to the start, 10 years ago in 2015. The game initially launched with a reasonable selection of 20 core operators. There was hardly any reward system such as a Battle Pass feature that was yet to be added until 2019, a full 4 years after the launch. The game actually started out in a really bad spot. The gameplay was buggy and unbalanced with significant issues such as poor hit detection, server issues, and audio glitches. Many of the 20 launch operators were very poorly balanced, either being way too powerful or borderline useless. Also, the map pool was much smaller than the one we know today. The map pool at launch was a mere 10 maps in comparison to the 37 that we have in present day. Despite its long list of flaws, the developers proved they were dedicated to fixing the many issues that players had with the game. They showed resilience against all of the hate they received for putting out such a half-baked game. They began to consistently release patches and updates that would address the bugs and make the game more playable. They continued to add more operators, more maps, and more gameplay modes. They also wanted to give a unique identity to their game's meta. With the introduction of more unique operators with drastically different playstyles, the gameplay loop was constantly evolving. Over time, they have also seen a major shift in tone from where it started. The game was meant to have a realistic focus on counterterrorism, being gritty and dark. However, they began to go for a lenient, brighter tone that strays away from the original dark, gritty tone. The game was evolving into something very different as development progressed. They had built a very committed competitive community that would follow the game for many years to come. The peak of the game's popularity was around 2020 to 2021, with 200,000 concurrent players during peak hours. So what happened to lose this momentum? Well, as I mentioned earlier, the game has strayed pretty far from its initial selling point. It's embraced the newer ways of free-to-play and heavier monetization with features like battle passes and siege credits. Due to the player base taking a deeper dive, in June 2025, Ubisoft launched the reboot known as Siege X. This is what the developers refer to as the biggest transformation in the history of Rainbow Six Siege. Some of the most notable features of this transition are the move to a free-to-play model, the graphics overhaul, and improved gameplay atmosphere, with updated sound and more destructible environments. They also modernized some of the classic maps for a better feel when playing. The goal of this whole reboot was to bring back many of the initially lost players and improve long-time casual and competitive support. The announcement of Siege X has reignited interest, however, long-term retention is still in question. The reception has been positive so far from the community, with many original players returning to see the game in its former glory. However, some still believe that this is all too little too late. It is important to keep in mind that the game has been around for an astonishing 10 years and is still very active. It consistently keeps up with its modern-day competitors such as Valorant and Counter-Strike 2. So what can the developers do? Well, I believe they can put the resources and time into this reboot's development to ensure that the returning players are not disappointed. They have proved their commitment in the past and they can do it again. What do you guys think? Can Siege restore its player base with a reboot, or will the reboot dig its own grave?